Good evening, everyone. You are watching the launch of Unfiltered with Brie. I am your host, Brie Burke, with tonight's guest actor, director, producer, and writer, William Mark McCullough. Mark is a Savannah native who has been in various movies and TV hits such as America Made with Tom Cruise, Swamp Thing, Sweet Magnolias, The Resident, Quantum Leap, Cobra Kai, The Walking Dead, as well as writing, directing, and starring in the 2021 horror thriller Savannah Haunting. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so wonderful to have you here. It's honestly an honor. We've been talking so long online. This is our first conversation to actually be having face to face. Well, somewhat.
Yeah, I'm so happy about it. Yeah, I've got so many wonderful folks in the entertainment industry that I communicate through social media mostly and email, and it's always wonderful when I actually get to have a conversation with them. So I'm very much looking forward to our chat tonight.
It's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to get into it with you. So I know that my little spiel just mentioned that you're a Savannah native, and I would love to hear more about your growing up and what made you want to become an actor, if you would love to dive into that.
Absolutely. I was actually just having this conversation earlier this week with a good friend of mine. I grew up around Savannah, kind of in the countryside around Savannah, and I didn't know anyone who worked in the arts, certainly no one who was an actor. And as a young kid, I started making movies with just friends in the neighborhood, and they were terrible movies. And I didn't think of myself as an actor. I thought of myself as a filmmaker, but because there were so few, people available, I just acted in the little projects I'd make, and it was really fun and I enjoyed it. But I never thought, oh, I can actually make a living working in TV shows and films. It just seemed like a world that was so distant from the real world that I was in. And again, coming from, my family were all like hardworking folks who, they mostly did things with their hands. They did construction, they worked in factories, they were maids, and they were loving and they were caring and they worked really hard to take care of us kids. But they just weren't familiar with the world of certainly not acting and filmmaking.
Mhm.
So I went to undergrad, and I remember I had to take an elective, an art elective, and my only options were art history and acting. And I was pretty sure I'd fail art history, so I took acting. And I went into class the first day with just so much like disdain because I thought this is going to be silly, this is going to be kind of whatever. And I remember I did my first monologue, and it was the final monologue from Dr. Faustus. And I did the monologue in front of probably 10 students in a little classroom with fluorescent lights overhead. There was no stage, but my whole body was on fire when I finished. And I knew at that moment, I'm in love with acting. Now, I had wonderful professors at the school that I went to who taught me the craft of acting on stage. But I didn't know anything about how to actually turn my dream of being an actor into a career that actually would pay my bills. So when I graduated from school, I was just lost. I had no idea what to do. So I think a lot of lost folks, I decided to go to law school, and I thought, well, I like standing in front of people. Maybe being a lawyer will, it'll feed that thing I have to perform. And so I went to law school and did not work as a lawyer very long at all because it wasn't my calling and I hated it. I'd taken a trip down to Nicaragua. I got in a really bad car accident and almost died. And I spent several weeks in the hospital down there. And I just remember lying in the hospital bed thinking, I'm doing a career that I'm not passionate about, that's really tough. And I almost died. I was like, what am I doing? Because you get caught up in this thing called the fallacy of sunken cost. The idea that once you've gone so far down a path, you need to stay on that path because you've already spent so much money, time, resources. So everyone told me I was insane to quit pursuing a legal career and switch that over to an acting career. But lying in the hospital bed, it opened my eyes and I realized I'm on the wrong path. I need to get off that path as quickly as I can and get on the right path. And when I healed up enough to go to the States, I quit my job and soon thereafter moved to LA and started what I lovingly refer to as my ramen noodle years because I went to LA and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to act on camera. I mean, I had no money. I mean, it was just literally, I had nothing going for me when I got there. And so it was a long, hard struggle before I figured things out. But the kernel of loving acting started when I was in first grade, making little movies with the neighborhood kids.
That's incredible. And where are these movies now, if you don't mind me asking?
My friend had the same thing. I have some of them. I'd spent a couple of years making one movie that I can't find it, but I'm going to look for it. To give you an idea of what kind of silly movies I made, this film was called Time Warriors.
Oh,
It was as terrible as it sounds. But it was just fun. I mean, it was basically a young boy, the idea, a young boy's idea of making an action film, right? It was so ridiculous and over the top and silly, but man, I love doing it. And it really kind of sparked my love for acting before I even knew that was something you could do as a job. So yeah, I'm very appreciative I got the chance to do that.
that's incredible. So your first big movie was when you were in first grade. Your first big
Yeah,
directing job.
yes, everything is relative, but yes, it was a big job at the time. Yes, absolutely. And it's funny because you learn the little things like, I think as a filmmaker, the number one asset you have is just the attitude to get it done no matter what.
Most
And obviously making little movies as a kid, you just get it done. So I definitely learned a lot of lessons doing that.
That's incredible. And when you went to California, did you get any big jobs, or what was your big break into the movie scene?
It was a uh, long, slow journey for me. And I made every mistake that any actor can possibly make. A bunch of acting classes taught by failed actors who had moved to LA to become actors, just didn't succeed, started teaching acting and started teaching other people how to succeed at something they failed at. And I listened to their advice for a long time and just spun my wheels and did really, really stupid things, right? Just wasted time, wasted money, wasted resources. The biggest issue was wasting time.
Mhm.
And I eventually started studying with two people who really had a huge impact on me. One was a working actor named Jack Plotnick, who, he taught me the things you need to know to actually work as an actor, things that were really important. And then I studied with a producer that we didn't spend 1 minute doing acting scenes. Everything was about how to be a business person as an actor. And because he'd been a huge producer in the 70s and 80s, he just taught me actually mattered in the big scheme of things. What are producers and directors looking for to make their lives easier when they're making a TV show or film? And those two people came together and really had a huge impact on me. The first, you know, big break is a big word, right? And it's like I've been appreciative of everything. And I'll say this: when I was in LA struggling, doing student films and short films and super low budget films that I hope no one watching this is able to find online because I sucked at them and I'm sure movies aren't very good. I love acting. I loved every minute of it, right? So when I was on the set of a little student film with $100 budget and they're paying me Subway sandwiches, right? My pay is the food, and I don't even get to choose the topping on the sandwich. I loved being there. And if I had never figured out the business and had, continued to do that the rest of my life, and I'd been 80 and looked back on life, I would have looked back from a place of joy because I love it. I always tell actors, come to me all wound up and freaked out because they haven't booked this yet or they haven't been on this TV show yet. And honestly, I say to them, do you want to be an actor or do you want to be famous? Because those are two different things. If you love acting, there's plenty of opportunity to act. Now, obviously, we all want to make our career acting, but I think you have to have a love for the craft and the process first before you get too deep into the business. But as far as my first, I booked a soap opera. I think it was the first like real job I'd done, and I'm not even going to say which one it was because it was so ridiculous. Uh, my first network TV show was called Secrets of Lies, and I played a character named T-shirt guy. They had 5 lines, and I worked opposite Ryan Philippe. Now, here's the crazy thing: like at that point, I had been, struggling for a long time, trying to like figure things out. And the thing that I'd figured out before that was branding. We'll talk about it a little bit if you want to, but I figured out what my brand was. And about a month later, I booked that little tiny role in that TV show. And then I booked a little bit bigger one, a little bit bigger one, a little bit bigger one. 9 months after booking T-shirt guy, I was working next to Tom Cruise for 2 months, playing a major character in this movie with him. It's called American Made. Um, but we shot for a month in Atlanta, I think 2 or 3 weeks down in South America, another 2 weeks in New Orleans. But it was shockingly fast, right? 9 months to go from tiny little role that worked for one day to 2 months sitting next to one of the biggest movie stars in the world, playing his co-pilot and being taken all over the world to do it. And so it wasn't a singular break. And with that, I mean, that movie certainly had a huge impact on my career. But here's the thing: that movie came out on a Friday night, and Monday I did another audition, and Tuesday I did another audition, right? And what I've learned is every movie that I do, every TV show that I do, they come out, and generally speaking, my career just takes a little bump up, a little bump up, right?
Yes.
I mean, there are those people who book something and it catapults their career, and that certainly happens. But for most people, it's just this slow climb up the ladder. So I'll say my big break was T-shirt guy.
That's awesome. And since that big break, can you tell us about some characters that you portrayed? Is there one role that stood out to you more than the rest?
I have loved every single role I've played. I've never done a project that I didn't have fun doing. There are a couple that stand out. Uh, I did a movie called Alina, where I played a Nazi SS officer during World War II, who obviously is the villain of this movie, and he's tasked with hunting down Jewish children to take them to a concentration camp. And it was the most intense, brutal character I've ever played. And I play a lot of villains. I play a lot of really bad guys, even though in real life, I like to think of myself as a pretty nice guy. But my take on it is the more powerful and compelling I can make the villain, the more wonderful the win is when the hero defeats me. So I look at it as my job as an actor to make my villains awfully powerful, awfully compelling. Because if I made them weak and I made them easily defeated, that takes away the power of the hero, right? So that was a character that was tough to play. I was playing opposite Aaliyah Shawkat. She was playing this Polish woman who's trying to save these babies that I'm trying to hunt down, and didn't speak to me the entire shoot. And I understand why, because I'm in like full on Nazi regalia with a leather trench coat. Um, it was, but when I saw the movie, the movie overall was so beautiful and so compelling. I think it ended up winning, gosh, like 150 Best Film Awards, and I won a lot of Best Acting awards for it. But it was something that, even though my character was reprehensible, the film as a whole was beautiful. And another role I had, and this is funny because this is a tiny, tiny part I had in a movie called Free State of Jones. Gary Ross directed it. Matthew McConaughey was starring in it, and I was working with Mahershala Ali. And this was when he was still on House of Cards before he won multiple Academy Awards.
Mhm.
And I was playing some like racist guy. The movie set during and just after the Civil War, and in the scene that I'm in, my character basically chases down Mahershala's character. I get in his face and I say, literally the worst thing a white man can possibly.
Hello? I'm sorry, I think I lost you. We're having some connection problems. Let me see. Mark, if you can hear me, can you please refresh your screen? I believe that you are frozen. I can't hear you at all. I will text you as well. Hello? Hi there. Oh, I can't hear you. What's happening? Let me see. Let me ask Jessie if... Can you say something, Mark? I'm sorry, I still can't hear you. Let me see. Let me see this. Let me see if I can send you a new link so we can try this on a new link instead. Because I don't know if it's the link or... Let me see if I can get a new link for us.